everybody. So, this is kind of spontaneous, as you might be able to notice. I just put this straight together because of what happened in the last half hour here in the Bronx, New York. And it's very upsetting. It's incredibly upsetting what just happened. Because a woman just got knocked out. And a man was bleeding from his head. And I got to see that. And it upsets me because nothing happened. See, Eric Adams wants to tell you, Governor Kathy Hochul wants to tell everyone that you're safe in New York. You're safe in New York City. Don't worry, they're taking care of it. Eric Adams promised he's taking care of it. Community policing, everyone's going to be coming together and you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. They've got it under control. And if there's, even though there's less police officers to take care of everything, even though they have bail reform so the criminals come out automatically, you have the social justice warriors out there, they have the criminal reform, and that's supposed to make everything so much better. That's what they promise you. And then a guy gets put on fire a week ago in the subway system. A guy got shot Sunday or Saturday in Manhattan on 86th Street on the subway. But separate of the subways, let's step out of that. What about the rest of New York? I understand they got 750 National Guard in the subways, and they're not making the subway safer. That's why a guy was lit on fire. That's why a guy got shot. That's why a woman got stabbed. You're not safer on the subways, even with an extra 750 National Guard troops, military troops in our subway system. No. This is in the Bronx. 9 p.m. on a Tuesday in the Bronx. And it's incredible because it was four guys. They're like, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s. I put them about 30. And by the way, yeah, 3 of them were Hispanic, 1 of them was black. They were assailants. They were attacking because they got in an argument with another kid who happened to be black and his girlfriend, or a woman with him who happened to be black. We're in the Bronx. So black on black crime. And the 4 men got in an argument with the one man. And the one man was stepping back and saying, I didn't see the whole thing and I wasn't close, but I could see enough. And you could hear him saying, hey, I want no problems. It's all right. No, man, we don't want to go there. That's what he says. And then a man runs up on him and hits him in the head with apparently a rock or a weapon, and he's bleeding from the head. And then those men step away. Another man runs on up, hits the woman who happens to be, I don't know, I couldn't tell from where I was at. I couldn't see the whole thing. She's what, 5'1". She weighed maybe 110 pounds. And they knock her out. Knocked her out cold. Beat, just bang, and she went down like a sack of potatoes, and she was laid out on the street. The guy's screaming because he's afraid something happened to her, that she would never wake up again. He's screaming at her, screaming her name to just wake up. Now, the part that's really going to get you about this, only 2 people screamed as the incident was going on and said, hey, stop or we'll call the police. Only, I don't know, I'm only aware of a couple of calls that went out to 911. But what I can tell you is that there were 6 grown men. 6 grown men. Each and every one of those men were sitting on a corner in the Bronx, watching the whole thing happen. Each and every one of those men, 30 to 50 years of age. Each and every one of them. Most of them are in their 40s. Each and every one of them sitting on a corner every night, every night, even in the winter, they stand on that same corner drinking beer and smoking their legal pot. Some of them are drug dealers. Some of them are just, I don't know. But they're there every day. They're there right now. They're on that corner right now. Saw every single second of it. And if you ask them about it, they'll say, I didn't see a thing. You were there. You've been there for the last 3 hours. You'll be there for the next 2 more hours. You'll be there until 3 in the morning, some of these guys. You saw nothing? Oh, but they were just talking about it. I could hear them. When they thought, no one else was listening, it's just amongst them, those 6, they were laughing about the way this fight broke down. It was pretty pitiful. Not because it was a pitiful fight. No, it's pitiful that it even came to this. And there were people up the block that were out on their porches. I think at least some of them saw that. A lot of neighbors, I'm sure, didn't go to their windows. People were afraid to be seen, afraid to be heard, afraid to speak out because maybe they could be next. I, of course, asked about it. I was like, hey, how did this happen? I don't know. I didn't see it. It was an argument. Yeah, I heard that part. I knew you could hear from blocks away that it was an argument. That wasn't the question. How did this happen? The other question that should have been asked is, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you do anything? Now, someone will say, but Mike, did you take a photo? Did you get video of it? No, because I was trying to get help. See, unlike some people who are younger and they're like, oh, well, we got to videotape it. No, try and get help. Like the people who called out and said, call the police, tried to get help. People were bleeding. They were laid out on the ground. That young woman, the guy that hit her, I believe, as best as I could tell, he is about 5'9", weighed about 170 pounds, roughly about 30, in decent shape. And this woman was about 5'1", 110 pounds. Do you know what happens when a man of that strength, that age, that build, hits a woman of that size, of that build, frail? That girl's she's got to have a concussion. She's got to have a concussion. She might have had a fractured jaw. She got hurt. She got hurt bad. But you got all the Democrats, you can't have a gun, you can't protect yourself. She couldn't protect herself against 4 grown men. Nope, she couldn't protect herself. And the one man, yeah, he couldn't do much. Again, 4 grown men. And he was already dazed. He had already been injured in the head. How badly? I don't know. But what are they supposed to do? Oh, but they can't have a firearm to defend themselves. Don't worry, the police will be there. Don't worry, even though there's fewer police, even though we've been defunding the police, even though we turn around and have a revolving door in our prisons, in our jails, and just let them out and out and out. Don't worry, you're going to be safe. They're going to protect you. They promised. I know there's comments up there, and I haven't been noticing the comments because I'm kind of venting right now because I'm upset. This could have been anyone in my family. It could have been any of my friends that I grew up with. It could be people in my building, people that work in the community. It could have been anyone. I smoke cigarettes. So I go outside of my apartment, my sister's place. I step outside to have a cigarette. Could have been me. As far as I could tell, from when the screaming started and the shouting started, this was a fight over nothing. Best I could tell, these guys didn't like what that girl said. She said something, they took offense to it, and so they decided the answer was, we're going to have a fight. But it was black on black crime. So it's not the big deal. It's not the focus because we have to worry about racism. Jamal Bowman, 2 days ago, was talking about, it's racism. We've got to fight the racism. That's the big problem that's affecting America right now. Or if you happen to look over at Columbia or Harvard or any of the colleges, dozens of colleges here in New York City, what are they all? Are they trying to figure out how to get rid of the crime? Are they trying to protect the population? No, no, no. They're fighting to help Hamas, a terrorist organization. They want your money to go to those terrorists who are fighting in a war they started. Hamas started overseas. But I don't see those kids over at Columbia. I don't see the kids at Cooper Union, at the City University of New York. I don't see them protesting in front of Mayor Adams and in front of City Hall and saying, hey, we've got to do something about the black on black crime. We've got to do something about the gangs. We got to do something about the drugs. I don't see them out there saying, hey, screw my tuition. I need to help this. Because this is happening, and I can tell you, it's happening in the Bronx, it's happening in Brooklyn, it's happening in Queens, it's happening all across New York. It just doesn't get the news. It doesn't get to be on air. And for some reason, we have convinced the communities, oh, you're illegal aliens, you're black, don't talk to the police. Don't talk to the police. You should never talk to police. Didn't Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez come out and say that one time? I believe she did, when she was like, you should never talk to the police. Then how are they supposed to fix this? We got 6 guys downstairs who are absolutely perfectly fine with not telling the police a single thing. Mind you, any one of those 6 could be the next one that this happens to. But they're okay with that. They laugh because it wasn't them this time. What about the next time? And by the way, just to let you know, the response time on the police, can't be exact on this, was at least about a half hour. Took the police about a half hour to drive by. As far as I'm aware, they didn't stop and ask any witness a question. Those people sitting downstairs who were saying, no, how could I possibly see something? I was only sitting on the corner watching the whole thing. I didn't see a thing. I don't know who it was. Don't know what it was. Yeah, but the police didn't even stop to talk to them. Partially because, well, black people don't talk to cops. We know because politicians tell black people don't talk to the cops. You see it in the movies, in the TV, the entertainers don't talk to the cops. Then who's going to help when you're the next person bleeding on the side of the street? Who's going to help you when your mom, your dad, you are laying on the ground knocked out? Who's going to come help you? Who's going to protect you? Who's going to get you that justice? You're not going to get any. That you're just going to be there and a bunch of guys who are drinking beer on the corner are going to just look and laugh at you. And that's the way we want our cities to go. That's the direction we're moving in. Can you understand why I'm frustrated right now, why I'm upset right now, why I'm angry right now? Because I know this neighborhood for 50 years. My family had been in this neighborhood. I know this. And I can tell you, going back to my childhood, when I was in my 20s, my 30s, you could never have done this. You could never have done this. Somewhere in the last 20 years, this neighborhood didn't just change in terms of the demographics of who happens to be living here. And by the way, black people have been living in this neighborhood for 45 years, maybe 50 years. So that's not the thing that's different. And people who have immigrated in here, we've had legal and illegal immigrants in this neighborhood for the last 40 years that I'm aware of for sure. So that's not what's different. Don't tell me it's because the people are dark-skinned or because they're from foreign countries. Those aren't answers. I know that. I've grown up here. I know this neighborhood. But now we have people who, again, in the last 20 years, suddenly people decide the drunks are going to just stand in front of the corner, the local bodega, and they're just going to drink all night and be very loud. I'm sure you've heard some of the live streams I've done where they've been loud, screaming, shouting, and laughing and talking all night long. Yeah, you've probably seen that in some of the videos I've done over the last year now. But they don't see anything. They don't do anything. That's not a benefit to the community. You would think having witnesses would be a benefit to the community, but it's not. Something changed in America. Something changed in our cities. And part of it is because of what the Democrats, what the progressives have been pushing forward. When you have less police, when you have revolving doors on the jail cells, you are encouraging more crime. When you don't pay attention to who's coming into the country, when you have an open door and you're inviting more illegal aliens to come into the country, either because you have 300,000 of them that you just lose. You just lost them. You forgot about them. And no one knows. They could be criminals. They could be psychotic. They could be perfectly natural. They could be doctors and nurses. I don't know. But then again, neither do you. And there's 300,000 of them. They could be terrorists for all we know. But they're here, and no one's looking at them. No one cares. No one's being vetted. I don't know who came into this country over the last 4 years, but I do know there's 8 million more of them, and I do know that I now have people downstairs for lots of reasons. Adding drugs, oh, we'll legalize drugs. That won't hurt the community. Really? Because it hasn't helped the community, and it's not paying off the debt of New York State. Oh, we'll legalize drugs, and then we'll be able to pay for the schools. Kids can't read in New York. Kids, we're being told by Kathy Hochul, by Eric Adams, kids don't know what a computer is. So you didn't spend the money that you got from legalizing the drugs on the education for these kids. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this problem, would we? So you lied. Or you're screwed up, or you're so absolutely inept that you have completely failed, which means get out of office, retire, go away, let someone replace you so that we can get the job done that's supposed to be getting done. But I can tell you, legalizing the drugs didn't improve the community. It didn't improve the city. It didn't improve the revenues or cut the taxes. It had no positive benefit. And if there's even one negative about it, and there are many negatives about it, we can see that before our eyes across this country. There are many negatives. We have no positives and just negatives. Why are we doing it? Because it feels good? Well, that's why it's called a drug. Yeah, there's a lot of problems. Eric Adams, I hope someone will forward this to you. I hope you will take the time to have you or one of your members of staff to stop and to hear what we are talking about right now, what I am trying to put through, because I am frustrated. I am in this city. I'm a resident of this city. I grew up in this city, just like you did, Eric Adams. And you said, oh, well, I dealt with all the crime. Then you know what I'm talking about. You know how real it can be. And you can understand that there is a fear right now. People have to worry. There are people. How can dozens of people witness, both audibly and visually, can see a crime happening, see a woman, again, a 5 foot, 110-pound woman get knocked out by a man, possibly holding a rock because he hit someone else and they started bleeding, so possibly with a weapon in his hand, knock this woman out cold onto the ground and not care. Because they don't trust the leadership. They don't trust those people in power. They don't trust the police. They don't trust the politicians. You guys have failed. You guys have so utterly and absolutely failed. No one has faith that you're able to do anything. When it takes half an hour for the police to drive by the location, even though they knew live, real time, the incident was happening. I found out. I know that someone was talking to the police live while the event was happening. And I know. They didn't show up then. I know, but there's fewer police. They defunded the police, so they can't be there on time. They can't get there immediately because there's less officers, and they have to confront more crimes. I get that, but once you're there, couldn't you stop? Since you came anyway, couldn't you stop and ask any of the people standing in front of you, in front of the scene of the crime? Couldn't you stop and just, I don't know, take 2 minutes and say, "Do you know what happened? Do you know why we got called to this location?" Any idea whatsoever? Might help because next time we're coming here, we might be coming to find your body. Could they have at least done that? EMS. It took EMS at least 12 minutes to show up on the scene. 12 minutes. And if it weren't for the fact that, man, that woman, that young man was screaming, "Please just wake up." I mean, seriously, it was horrendous. It was horrific. Just wake up. And she was completely out of it. I'm sure that young woman had a concussion. She had no idea where she was. She had no idea what was going on as he carried her bodily into a car and drove off. And what happens tomorrow night? Or what happens later tonight? Who's next? Who's going to just piss off someone because they said the wrong thing, because they saw the wrong thing, because they looked at someone the wrong way? And so that's going to be reason enough, because they got nothing to fear. Police didn't arrest anybody. They didn't even stay in the neighborhood to find out what was going on, apparently. EMS didn't stop and say, hey, is everyone okay? Didn't even stop to say, is everyone okay? They didn't see the bodies. They drove on. And again, I get it. There's less of them having to deal with more incidents. By the way, this is not going to count as crime. You're not going to see this on the crime stats anywhere in America. Crime is down. Well, yeah, because they didn't stop to ask any questions. No one saw the body. They didn't help anyone. So there was no crime. Oh, yeah, they got a call, and witnesses may or may not have seen part or all of it. They were told there was a crime, but they didn't write a report. There's nothing to say. Oh, there's no crime. So the crime didn't happen. You're not going to see that in the crime stats. Crime stats are down because you're showing up so late that the scene has already dispersed. People are already going to the hospital to try and take care of themselves rather than just lay there on the ground and say, well, eventually the EMS and the police will eventually come here to see my body, which if you're not getting help and you're in an emergency, you're bleeding, you might be dead by the time they show up. Or you can leave the scene and try to get medical help. Gee, which one would you do? Which one do you think is going to be more effective? Well, I could stay here and maybe die, but then they'll have a crime, and the crime stats will be a little bit more accurate. Or I can try and save my life, try and save my friend's life, but the crime stats won't show it. It is very frustrating, my friends. It is very frustrating. And I didn't get on tonight to, this is no promo. I'm not trying to get some, it's not about viewers. It's not about attention. It's not about subscriptions. I'm just trying to make sure I get this out. It's in my system. I need to get it out. I need to talk. And I'm trying to reach Eric Adams. I'm trying to reach the assembly members like Carl Hasty. This is your district, Carl Hasty. Yeah, I know, you're the Speaker of New York. This is your district. You went to high school in this neighborhood, Carl Hasty. You grew up in this neighborhood, Carl Hasty. You're only about 4 years younger than me. 4 years older than me. So you know this neighborhood. And you may be living your life very secluded and away from everyone else, but you know how this neighborhood has changed, Carl Hasty. What are you doing? How are you improving this? How are you preventing this from happening again? What assurances can you provide? Don't promise, provide to the people. Hey, Eric Adams, you've grown up with these kinds of crimes. I'm not saying that I've never seen crime in this neighborhood before. I'm not saying that we didn't go through the crack epidemic in this neighborhood. Of course we did. But this is something very different than what we have gone through in the past. These aren't crackheads that are committing these crimes. I'm not describing some drugged out fiend. That's different. So what are you doing? Well, you're promising that you're going to make it better. It's going to get better. You're going to fix it. When? And what are you going to do exactly? You know what you need to do? Hire more police officers. What you need to do? Put the criminals in jail. If it's a suspect, put them in jail. Go through the legal system. Get them a fair trial as fast as possible, and when and if they are guilty, put them in jail. It doesn't matter that they're black. It doesn't matter that they're poor. It doesn't matter that they're Asian or Hispanic. I don't care if they had drugs or their parents beat them as a child. These are grown adults. They made a choice. I don't know if one of the black assailants that hit a guy in the head and had him bleeding, that hit this woman and knocked her out, I don't know if those assailants, I don't know if they grew up in a broken home, and I don't care. I don't know if they were poor, and I don't care. I don't know if they were previously in a gang or they went to jail before. I would guess, based on their mannerisms, probably one or the other, if not both. But again, I don't care. They made a choice that moment. Those past problems, whether they have low education or they're Rhodes Scholars, doesn't really make a difference. They need to be held accountable. This is unacceptable for a society. This is unacceptable for a city. We can't function like this. And if it's happening like this, and this is the response time, this is what we are seeing, it's going to get worse because every single gang member, every single drug addict, every single lowlife, and more importantly, every good citizen all saw the same thing. That there were a bunch of men that could have done something. 6 men. Yes, there were 4 young men. There were 6 men downstairs. The numbers were even at best. They could have stopped this. I'm not saying they had to have a block fight. All they had to do is say, stop. Walk away. Not here, not now, no. That's all they had to do. And they had the numbers to say, you're not doing this here. Don't do this. That's what they could have done. They needed to step up. And I don't care if they're illegal immigrants that are on that block drinking beer or whether they're legal American citizens. It doesn't matter. Stand up and just say, don't do this here. Get away. Stop. That's all they needed to say. And this could have ended. All they needed to say is, we just called the cops. 911, the cops are on the way. That's all they needed to say. 911 is on the way right now. That's all they needed to do. And the incident would have stopped. Because people were willing to call the police. The police showed up. The public were interacting with the police to try and solve the situation. Can we see all the different ways this is failing? This is falling apart, that the system is cracking around us and crumbling? Because it doesn't get better. We now the whole block is wondering, okay, is next time there's not going to be anyone to protect me? Who's going to protect me? How do I protect myself? Does that mean that older people in the neighborhood who are aware of this or become aware of it, does that mean they have to carry a knife? Do they have to carry a gun? Is that what's going to happen? Well, in New York City, that's going to be illegal. It's next to impossible to legally be able to have a gun, even if you have a perfect, spotless record, even if you qualify under New York state law and all of the barricades that Kathy Hochul and the Democrats have put in your place to get a concealed carry permit. Even if you jump through every one of their hoops, including the money that they put in front of you as a blockade, even if you did all that, you still can't carry a gun in New York because Kathy Hochul said, nope, I don't care what the Supreme Court or the Second Amendment says. I'm still going to punish you because she doesn't like guns. Mind you, she has no problem with the guns that her security detail carries with her. She has no problem with them having a gun. She has a problem with you and me having a gun. Well, what are these people going to do to protect themselves now? Because they know, oh, well, the police, yeah, they'll show up if someone decides to make a phone call. If that call goes through, they might be there in about half an hour. And I've got to survive for half an hour on my own. And I can't trust that the men are going to actually do anything. They're watching. They'll watch, absolutely. But I have no guarantee they're ever going to do anything to help me. The pretty young girl, they did nothing to help her. So do you think they're going to help the older 60-year-old woman up the block? Do you think they're going to help any of the men? They wouldn't help a girl, a young woman. They wouldn't help a pretty young woman. You would think they would be motivated to do that. They're old enough that they were raised that they're supposed to do that. You know, I know I haven't looked at any of the comments. I'm just speaking to you, and I'm letting off the steam, and I'm upset. And I'm trying to stay very, very calm. But it is upsetting. Eric Adams, I want you to hear this. I want you to, God help me, I hope someone gets this to your staff, and your staff tells you to just watch this. Not just a summary about it, but actually watch this. Look at my face. Look at my eyes. Do you understand how this is affecting me, the emotions that I am feeling right now? And there are a lot of emotions. I'm upset, of course. I want to scream, but it's almost 10 o'clock, or it is 10 o'clock at night. I have neighbors. They have kids. I can't scream right now. I'm not going to wake them up and disturb their night even more than what already has happened. I don't want them to have disturbed sleep and have bad dreams. But trust me, I want to scream about this. I am pissed off about this. And yes, I am afraid for my family and friends that this could happen to them at some point in time. God help us, because, it's New York City. Sometimes you have to travel. I know I travel to various events. I come home late at night sometimes. I'm worried. What about, my family? They could run into something like this coming home from work, a party, from whatever they're doing in life, and they could run into this. Who's going to be there for them? I can't trust the 6 guys who are on the corner, some of them drug dealers, some of them just drunks and drug addicts. Can't trust them. Can't trust the business owners. They didn't come outside. Who? We need to change a lot. We need to change a lot in our society, in the way we think about these things. Look, you're black, and yes, you call cops. You're black, you're Hispanic. Yes, you call the cops. Who are you going to call? Your local crackhead? Who are you going to call? The local gang dealer? Who, the one who's actually committing the crimes in the first damn place? You call the cops. And you hold the cops accountable that they do their job, and they do their job right. And you do that by talking to them, telling them what happened, and watching what they do, watching how they react. You don't just close your door, walk away, and say, well, that's over, I'm not involved anymore. You pay attention, see what they do, hold them accountable, and make sure that if they're doing the wrong thing, you know which officer was doing that, so that you can call that officer out, so that you can hold them accountable, so we can hire someone better. You don't tell them we don't want police officers in our neighborhood. Yes, we do. We need them. We need them. More than want them, we need them in our neighborhoods, especially now. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just missing something fundamental here. Because obviously, something has absolutely changed. This isn't the way I was raised. This isn't the neighborhood I was raised in, and this shouldn't be happening. And I'm not Pollyanna. Again, I grew up in the Bronx. I was here I was here in the 70s and the 80s. I saw the crack epidemic happen and end. I've seen the bad side and the good side of life. I understand. I'm no Pollyanna. I get it. I've known more than my fair share of gang members and drug addicts, good people and people in bad situations making good and bad decisions. I understand. Human beings. Life happens. I get it. But this isn't right. This isn't even close to right. And it's unsettling. It's unsettling, it's unnerving. Because the question is, gee, how do we protect each other? I think to myself, I got to walk my dog. And sometimes I need to walk my dog, who's older. Sometimes he needs to go and walk at the end of the night, 10, 11, even midnight sometimes. Because he has to. He's an older dog. Fine. I don't mind doing that. Or I go out in the morning, and I'm up early in the morning because he gets up early in the morning. That's part of our schedule. And I'm walking him out in the early morning, whether it's summer where it's bright or when it's winter and it's dark. Okay. Do I need to carry a gun every time I do that now? And if I do carry a gun, or maybe I carry a knife. And what if I carry a knife and the police stop me? Because that happened yesterday. I'm having a cigarette, just smoking a cigarette, and the police stop and go, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. I'm having a cigarette. Is everything okay? Yeah, so far. I'm doing great. Okay. Well, why don't you have I hope you have a great day. You too, officer. Thank you. Now, did he stop? Did he have to yell at me from his car. Obviously, he thought something was off. Wasn't. I dress a little different than the average person in the neighborhood. I'm sitting on the porch, no one else is around me, and I'm having a cigarette. Maybe he thought I was a little off. Okay, a little strange. Hasn't seen me before in the neighborhood. Okay. Was that a microaggression? No. Did I get offended because he was singling me out? Was he profiling me? Maybe. It was resolved simple enough. I answered his questions. I kept smoking my cigarette and joined my day. He drove off. No problem. I didn't commit a crime. He had nothing to bother me about. He went on his way. Life is simple sometimes. When there's a problem, deal with the problem. If there's no problem, let it go. Water off a duck's back. But be involved. I would prefer the cop to go, hey, what are you doing? I don't recognize you. Don't remember seeing you around this neighborhood. You stand out a little bit from everyone else around you. Who are you? I'd rather have that. So I know that he's protecting the neighborhood. So that the next time that there's some strange person that he doesn't recognize that might be doing something a little bit odd, something not like what everyone else is doing, maybe that next one is the one that's actually about to stab people or commit a crime or beat someone over the head with a rock and cause them to bleed, to beat down on a 5-foot-tall woman. Maybe. Does that make sense to people? Do you understand? But now imagine, because of this incident, if I carry a knife and it's the next time they stop me, and what if they notice the knife? What if it falls, or they notice it in my back or on my belt, and they go, oh, now you're armed. That's very different. Why are you armed? What's that about? Now we've got an incident that's escalated because I wanted to protect myself. And now I've also committed a crime. Or I've been caught committing a crime. All because I want to protect myself, because the last time that there was an incident, no one was there to protect anyone. And I can't count on my neighbors, because my neighbors are too busy getting drunk and high. Some of them, not all of them. A lot of good middle-class, hard-working people in the neighborhood too. I'm not saying everyone. But the ones that are most likely to be outside, the ones who are most likely to be outside on the corner at any given time of the day, they're drunk, they're drug addicts, they're drug dealers, they're high. Oh, yeah, I don't want to trust my life on them. I don't know. I'm trying to express all these things. There's 1,001 problems. And the promises we're getting aren't fixing any of them, because they're just promises. Eric Adams made promises. Kathy Hochul made promises. Carl Hasty, Richie Torres. We've gotten a lot of promises. And it's not just Democrats, although I'm in a bluer than blue. What did we just get told when Trump came here? Oh, yeah, this is the bluest of blue counties in the entire nation. You can't get more progressive, more blue than the Bronx. Okay. And their promises have failed. And they're supposed to be the party that's looking out for me the most. They keep running around saying, you can't vote for a Republican. You can't be a Republican. You're black. And we, the Democratic Party, take care of black people. And this is how you take care of black people? Is this how you take care of minorities? Because let me tell you, you failed. You screwed up. This ain't the way to get the job done. Shock and amazement to some of the progressives over at Columbia University. Some of those kids on the Upper East Side. Big shock. This isn't how you fix the problem. No, this isn't going to work. And just saying, well, it's racism. That's not an answer. You haven't answered anything, because it's not. It's not about being an ist or a phobe, because that ain't it either. Sorry, libertarians, legalizing drugs ain't making it better either. We need to seriously stop. We really seriously need to stop and look at what the consequences are that are happening right now, because it only gets worse. This snowball rolling downhill to hell only gets worse the longer that we don't pay attention to it. All right, yeah. You know what? I will take a look at some of the comments here, because I've been just streaming my thoughts for a little while. But let me see. I don't even know how many people may or may not have seen this, or how many will or will not see it. But I know there's comments here, so let me see. Dal. Hey, Dal. Good to see you. By the way, I'm safe. I'm fine. I wasn't hurt. My family's fine. Yeah, so my family, I'm fine. My family's fine. People in my building are fine. These weren't people from my building. There weren't people that I am aware of from my block. Anyone. The assailants, the victims, none of them seemed to be anyone I knew. Native Hita, Hita. I guess that's pronounced Hita. Hello. Thank you for being on my channel. Thank you for the comments. You're new. So this isn't what I normally do, but this is what I'm doing right now. Look, Hita is saying, well, there's Trump. He linked black people with crime and Hispanics with crime, and you know what? There is black on black crime. It's a real thing. In fact, it's the biggest cause of black and Hispanics. Black on black crime is the number one cause of death to black people. Over 6,000, almost 7,000 black on black homicides a year, every year, consistently. So yeah, if someone's quoting that, it's not because they're racist. It's because it's real. You don't have to believe me. Go to the USA, Crime in the USA report. Every year comes out. Look at the statistics. It's been the same trend since the 1990s, actually 1980s. So if you want to tell me, well, it's Trump's fault, this has shit to do with Trump. In fact, it has nothing to do with Biden either. It's far more local. We're talking local here. So you want to tell me it's about Trump, Orange Man, bad? Kiss my ass. It has nothing to do with him. You want to tell me it's about Joe Biden? I'll tell you, no, it's not about him either. It's about Kathy Hochul. She's the governor of New York. Yeah, it's about Eric Adams. He's the mayor of New York. Yes, it's about the local police chief. It's about Alvin Bragg, who's the DA. Yes, it's about Letitia James. She's the attorney general for New York. It's about them releasing criminals. It's about them not prosecuting crimes because of the color of skin of some people, because of the income bracket of some people. It is on them. But it's got nothing to do with the feds. So, Native Hita, if you want to tell me it's about Trump, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea. And I see you made a lot of comments, and you're trying to convince me. It's about Republicans. It's about ist and phobe. It's about Orange Man bad. Stop with that. Because that's not fixing anything. I'm being very specific about, or as specific as I can be, about some of what happened tonight in the Bronx. And this is the North Bronx. It's not the South Bronx. This is the North Bronx. For those who know the Bronx, which, South Bronx is known for having more crime. This is the North Bronx. This is almost outside of the Bronx. We're at the top of the Bronx, an area that's known for being relatively, lower crime at least. So don't tell me it's the Orange Man bad crap, because that's useless. It's not about someone's religion. No one was screaming about their religion downstairs. No one was screaming about their sexual gender or sexual preferences downstairs. No one was screaming about the white man's oppressing them or anything stupid like that. It has nothing to do with the ists and the phobes. Don't put that in there, because it has nothing to do with it. And all of the ist and phobe drama doesn't resolve this. Hasn't fixed any of it. So you can be all istphobe, orange man bad, and you fixed nothing. You solved nothing. You'll waste a lot of money with that argument. You'll waste a lot of time with that argument. And I'm sure you'll get a bunch of votes for people off of that argument about ists and phobes. But you haven't fixed anything. You haven't resolved anything. You haven't even gotten close to resolving anything. All you did is make more people angry and upset. But as in terms of a solution, you got zero. The woman's still laying on the street when you do that. Because you're not fixing the problem. You're not even addressing the problem. Not that black on black crime is a big situation. Agent Black, who's over in England. How are you, my friend? Thank you for being here with us. Good to see you, Agent Black. I hope you'll be well. Yeah, we all need to vent sometimes. And you're right, Dal. We do need to vent. And I understand some people, oh my God, but I hate Trump. I don't care. I hate Joe Biden. I don't care. It's the progressives. I'm being very specific about the problem and the people who are accountable. Who can I hold accountable? Local police chief, who I sadly don't know the name of, but I will find out. The assembly member, who's Carl Hasty, who I've met, who went to the same high school as me, grew up in the same neighborhood. Richie Torres, who's a member of Congress who represents this neighborhood, who I've never seen in this neighborhood, never seen him come down, talk to anyone in this neighborhood. I'm not aware of anyone in this neighborhood who have ever seen or talked to or been at an event with Richie Torres, but I'm talking to Richie Torres. He's the congressman. I'm talking to Kathy Hochul. She's the governor. I'm talking to Eric Adams. He's the mayor. These are the people I'm talking to. They're the ones who are responsible. Orange Man Bad has nothing to do with this. Don't even bring it. Ists and phobes has nothing to do with it. People's religion has nothing to do with it. If you're throwing anyone in the comments, anyone who sees this and goes to those things, you have missed the point. You have missed the boat. You're off in left field all by yourself because that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. Nor is it bringing us any closer to a solution. And if you're asking me, at this moment, and I've said this before, even when I'm calmer, I've said this. What we need to do is get rid of this stupid bail reform. Hold the people in jail. And we don't need criminal reform, social justice criminal reform. We don't need that. We need to enforce the laws fairly as they are written, without the interpretation of, well, maybe you grew up poor. Who cares? That doesn't mean you're a criminal. Maybe you grew up with a broken family. Doesn't mean that you get to make crimes. That's not a reason. We're talking about grown adults who make choices, whether they're well-educated or poorly educated, whether they're rich or poor, whether they're white, black, whatever color. They could be polka dots where I care. They could have any religion or no religion whatsoever. They are human beings that made a choice. We hold them accountable for the choices they made. I don't care how bad their life was. They made the choice to commit the crime. Punish them for it. I think these things, holding people accountable, not defunding the police, but let's maintain a higher level, a decent level of police. We've had higher levels. That was effective. Let's go back to the older levels. Let's not try and defund the police, disband the police, or like Jasmine Sherman of the Green Party. She says, let's get rid of all the prisons. You're out of your mind, woman. Out of your bloody mind. It's a stupid idea, which is why Jasmine Sherman isn't running for the Green Party for the President of the United States, because Jasmine Sherman's out of her mind. But so are the progressives who pushed that idea. Those very same progressives who are telling me that I should be more concerned about the terrorist organization Hamas than I should be about my neighborhood and the black-on-black crime that I just witnessed. You know, perhaps the thing that makes me the most upset, guys, the thing that probably makes me the most upset is knowing that 6 grown men, watched the whole thing happen. And I know that those 6 men are downstairs right now. I know they're going to be there tomorrow. I know they're going to be there the day after. I know some of these men urinate publicly. I know some of them, I don't know. They've defecated in public before, kind of like a California transplant. I know they're drunk and high on a regular basis. They're untrustworthy. And that upsets me. Because I'd like to believe that these individuals who see me, who see my family, every day would stand up if my family were in danger. I'd like to believe that. That illusion is gone now. Totally shattered that illusion. That doesn't make me feel well to know they wouldn't do anything for my family. They wouldn't lift a finger. Even though they see them every day, they say their hellos, they're polite, and they'd say nothing, apparently. They'd just watch the whole thing and would laugh about it afterwards. That's not a community. New York lost its communities. We've lost the unity. America has lost its unity. I've said this before in my weekly live streams and some of the videos I've done. I said, we're losing America. No, we've lost America. And I don't know when we lost it. I don't know how we lost it. I don't know why we lost it. Well, maybe I know why. Because we stopped caring. We put everything on the backs of politicians whose only purpose, the only thing these politicians have been worried about is maintaining their power. They want to live getting paid extremely well. They want to live in communities that are gated off and secured from everyone else. They want to be able to do things that we can't do. We had to wear a mask. They didn't. We couldn't go out. We couldn't go out to dinner. They did. We couldn't go to parties. They did. If you got a car, they don't pay the parking tickets. You do. They get all kinds. They have a different tier of justice. When they get arrested, they get treated entirely different than you and I. And by the way, again, that's not about because you're black or you're white or you're Hispanic or Asian. It's because they're politicians and you're not. That's the difference. It's not even because you're rich or poor. It's they're a politician and you're not. And as a politician, they are essentially the neo-noble. This is like the Middle Ages. They get to live a life of prestige and privilege, and the rest of us don't. And they're not. And we gave them all of our rights, and we thought we were giving them extra responsibilities at the same time, saying, hey, if you want all this power and you want all this privilege, you should have the responsibility to take care of me, your constituent, to make sure that my life is going to be as good as it can be, to live up to the bloody promises that you've been making for decades after decades to me and my family. You're going to live up to some of these. You're actually going to do something. And instead, look at what we've got. Kids can't read. Kids can't do math because math is apparently racist, which doesn't help a kid learn how to do 2 plus 2. I don't care if math could be as racist as you want it to be. It could be the most racist thing since 1930s Germany. But can the kid answer the question 2 plus 2 equals 4? If they can, I don't care if it's racist as in Germany. It doesn't matter. The answer is correct. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Period. Terrence Harwood be damned. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Done. But they're more worried about, Istanphobe, feelings. That's not answering the question. That's not fixing the problem. And they failed. So the education, they have failed. In terms of policing, they have failed. What was it, a couple of months ago? We know that the infrastructure is falling apart. The water pipes were ready to blow up. They failed. We've given them way too much privilege and power and not held them accountable for the responsibilities that go with that. It was a package deal. You get more power, you get this privilege, you have a responsibility to the people. Not to promise us stuff, but to actually do something. And if you can't do that, you give up the privilege and you become another regular person and someone else takes your place to do it. And I don't care what your political party is. It doesn't matter if you're left or right, if you're whatever you want to be. You either do the job and live up to the responsibility, or you should get out the way. Instead, they want to stick around and just let the gravy train roll as long as they possibly can. And we've been doing that too long. We've been doing that way too long in this nation. People have been living on the high life and living on the gravy train and ignoring their responsibilities to their fellow citizen for far too long. And it's destroying us. It's destroying our cities. It's destroying the infrastructure, destroying education, destroying the next generation, the current generation, the elderly generation. It is destroying every aspect of America all at once. And maybe that's why every week and all the time I come on and I talk about all the issues and how we got to this place on this issue or that issue. And whether you agree with whatever side I politically take, it doesn't really matter. It's about you saying, oh, well, let me do something. What was the name? Nita or Nisha? Was it Native? Native. I don't care if you think Orange Man bad. Then go out and vote. You hate Orange Man bad so much, go and vote. Just make sure you're voting for the right thing. Don't tell me you're voting because someone else said Orange Man bad. Go and actually check the facts. And then go and vote if it's still what you feel like. I'll never tell you not to. I will tell you your vote matters. I will tell you that you better be sure that that's going to lead to the right set of dominoes, that the consequence of that vote, if you're voting for Joe Biden, be sure about that. Is that going to make things better? Is that going to lead to a series of dominoes where we're going to have less illegal aliens breaking our laws? Is that going to lead to less of the defunding of the police, that we're going to have better education in America? Is that what's going to happen? Because that isn't what's been happening for the last 4 years. So just be sure. And hold the right people accountable for the right problem. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's a little bit, it's me ranting, it's me upset, and I get it. It's late at night. It's like 10:30. It's me ranting. I just threw everything together. I didn't try and make sure I had a good, clean video or anything. I just wanted to get this out here. But I don't know. Does this make sense? For the people who are watching it live, don't know how many that is right now, haven't checked, doesn't matter. People who are watching it live, for people who might watch this later, if Eric Adams sees this, if Speaker Carl Hastie sees this, if Congressman Richie Torres sees this, if Kathy Hochul and or her staff or any of their staff see this, do you understand the problem? Does it make sense to you now? Because I'm talking directly to you guys. You are the ones who are accountable for this. You are the ones who have the responsibility. It is an obligation. The offices that you guys hold, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, the offices you guys hold, you are obligated to the public to actually do something. Not to give us another promise, not to blame your political opponents, not to beg for more money, to fix the problem. Actually get a solution put together and fix the problem. not pass the buck, not kick the can down the road, not to stall, to fix the problem. And I understand the fix, the things that we need to fix the problem may be bigger than any one of you. Then tell us. If you need, I don't know, the legislature of New York State to fix the problem, tell us, give us a plan, show us, here's what you're going to do, here's the dominoes, the consequences of your plan, and this is why you need more tax money, why you need to hire more people, why you need to hire different people, whatever the case it is, whatever the details are. If you can't get it done in one term, you can't get it done in a year or 2 years, you need a re-election, whatever it takes, give us the plan. Explain to us. We're adults. We understand. Speak to us. Here's the plan. This is what I think will work. It goes like this. We do A, and then we do B, and then we do C, and then we get result X, Y, Z. That's what I say. Then we can actually go forward. Do that. Don't just promise me, well, we'll throw more money at it. What's the answer about education? Oh, we'll just throw more money at it. The kids, they can't read. We'll throw more money at it. The kids don't know what a computer is. We'll throw more money at it. You already throw more money into... There are literally countries that don't make as much money as we spend on education, and you're telling me that we'll just throw more money at it and that's going to fix it? If that was the answer, we'd have the most brilliant kids on the face of the earth. That's not the answer. That's not solving anything. And even if you thought it might at the first time that you tried that, we've been doing that for decades. Guess what? If it hasn't worked in generations, it's not going to work. Throwing more money at it isn't going to fix it. Try something different. Again, this is your obligation. It's not a request. It's not a political favor. It's not something that you could, think about. Maybe you want to do it. This is your obligation. This is the job you requested. This is the job that you asked us to vote for you. You begged us for this. Then do your end. We did the public did their end. They voted for you. They donated to your campaign. They got you the signatures you needed for petitions. They went out and they voted for you. You're there. Fantastic. Hold up your end of the bargain because you're not. And that's why our society is falling apart. That's why our cities are falling apart. That's why America's falling apart. Because you're not doing your end of the job. You're not lifting your weight. You're ignoring your obligations. Does that make sense, folks? And I beg, please send this to those politicians that I've mentioned. Richie Torres, Carl Hasty, to Kathy Hochul, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James. Send it to these guys. Ask them. Just ask them. Do you agree? Ask them to watch this and just say, do you agree? Ask them, do you agree that since they were elected into these positions, they have an obligation to the public? Let's start there. Let's define the terms and make sure we're all on the same level playing field. I'll start there. Let's start at the basics at the beginning. Do you agree that when you get elected into office, you have an obligation to make the lives of your constituents better? That's a yes or a no. That's it. There is no other answer to that. It is either yes, that's an obligation, or no, it's not. There is no other answer in between. I understand the game. I understand the politicking. I understand you want to word it so that you get a word salad that doesn't actually say anything. No, it's a yes or a no. Once you're elected, you are obligated to take care of your constituents. That's a yes or a no. If you say yes, We can move forward. Okay. Screw all of the promises you made. What factually, what have you empirically absolutely done that has improved lives of your constituents? I don't care about the promises. Don't tell me what. I don't care why anything failed. Oh, your political opponents didn't pass this or that, or you didn't get enough tax money, or some business didn't pay their taxes. I don't care about that. I don't care what failed. I don't care whose fault it was. What have you done? What have you done to live up to your obligation? Third thing, what are you doing? Not promising, not planning, not hoping for. What are you doing that is going to improve the lives of your constituents? These are simple things that I'm asking for. I'm asking for a plan. I'm asking for proof. I'm asking for a communication. I'm asking for community. I'm asking for these politicians to be part of the community. Is that too much to ask for? Am I being crazy right now? I know I'm a conservative Republican. Maybe I'm just being crazy. Like, you're asking for politicians to be part of the community, to actually be involved in the lives of the constituents that they represent. Yes, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I expect. Can we get that? Because if you say yes, we can get that, what are you doing to get that? What are you doing? You got all the perks. You got all the privileges. What are you doing? You got multiple houses. You've got tax-free pay. You get to take vacations paid for by corporations and individuals and political organizations from around the world on a regular basis. You get to be on TV, talk to various entertainers and who's who in politics. You get to be snobs and drink fancy wines and big cigars. Fantastic. Good for you. I don't care about any of that. Fine. You got all those things. And are you living up to your obligation? Are you doing your job? Because I don't think you are. I don't think you're even close. And I think you know it. How you sleep at night, I don't know. Again, I'm not asking you for the perfect answer. I'm not asking for the perfect solution. I'm just asking you to be effective. Efficient and effective. That's it. Just be efficient and effective. Improve things. Even a little bit. Start somewhere. Pick one thing. I don't care what it is. Pick one thing and improve it. Let's start there. Whatever it is that you like. Don't tell me about an ist. Don't tell me about a phobe. Don't tell me about the other party. Don't tell me about how little money you have or how you need to win the next election. Screw you. Don't care about any of that. Pick one thing. Tell me how you're going to fix it and then fix it. Is that a fair deal? Is that worth it? And if you do enough of those little things, if you do enough of those things, tell us a thing, fix the thing. If you do that enough times, you will get reelected. You deserve it. And if you don't, you won't be reelected because you shouldn't be. Because then you're just abusing the position. You're just using us. You've turned your constituents, your community, and you've turned them into a bunch of slaves. And I don't mean the slaves like 1860s. I mean what the word actually means. Slaves, peons, serfs. And we need to say this more often. We need to change the way we think about these things. And we're running out of time, folks. What happened today in the Bronx is going to happen in central New York. It's going to happen in Kansas. It's going to happen in Idaho. It's going to happen in Texas. It probably already is happening in California. It's going to happen wherever you are in this country. It's going to get to you. If it isn't happening already, it will be soon. Because evil and corruption spreads. Always. It's just a matter of time. And nothing gets better unless you actively make it better. You don't just wake up tomorrow and all the problems are gone. It's never going to happen. It doesn't work that way. And just being reelected forever and kicking the can down the road doesn't fix the problem. Never does. Throwing money at the problem doesn't fix the problem. Never does. And that doesn't matter what party you're in. Doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. Doesn't matter what your color of skin, your gender, your sexual preference, your religion. None of those things matter to what I'm talking about. So I don't care about any of those. I don't care. Whatever they are for you is whatever they are for you. That's your thing. You worry about it. That's your life. I don't care about that. I care about your obligation. And maybe we need politicians to hear this honest conversation more often. Maybe we need a few more people getting on social media to do what we used to do in letters and showing up in person. And that is to tell our politicians that, one, we're awake, that we're aware of what's going on, that we see the problem. Two, that we're holding them accountable because they have an obligation and they have to fulfill that obligation, and that we're going to vote them out of office if they don't. It's 10:43 on the East Coast. Way later for you, Agent Black. Go back to sleep, man. It's like 4 in the morning for you. You got to get ready for work. I hope people find this. I hope people agree at least with the core of what I'm talking about. I hope some people get scared. Not scared of, be afraid of black people. No, that's not the point. And no, it's not something cheap and stupid like that. No, it's not be afraid of black people or Hispanics or whites or Asians or, gays or straights or anything like that. None of that stupid stuff. I don't care about that. No, be scared that our society is falling apart. That our politicians are using us. And we're getting no benefit for all of the rights and privileges that we've given away. And maybe I should just leave it there. I've been on for over an hour. I've gotten this out my system. I'm going to walk my dog, most likely. Yeah, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. And I thought I heard my dog crying, which means he wants to go out. And I'm going to walk him. And hopefully I'll be safe. Because if not, there'll be another black man laying on the ground, bleeding, with no one helping me, and the obligations of the politicians having failed, I won't be safe. And even for those who think, well, that would be a good thing, even if you're crazy enough to say, well, that's a good thing, what happens when it's you? I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want it to happen to you. I don't want it to happen to anyone. I don't know. Maybe this helps to stop that from happening. Maybe this helps us stop it from happening to me, happening to you, from happening to anyone, if we can't. Thank you for listening to me rant. You know what? Share this out. Try and get it to the politicians I've mentioned. I'm more than happy to hear their voices. If they want to respond, I'm more than happy to give them as much time as they will ever need to respond to me, to tell me how they're fixing it, how they're living up to their obligations. I'm more than happy. I'll let them speak on live. I'll read off any letter they write verbatim without any change, verbatim, and in full context. I'm fair. I am fair. Got an answer for me, guys? Give it to me. I'll make sure the public hears every single word of whatever answer you give me, if you don't want to give it to them yourself. But I do want to hear an answer. All right, folks. Thank you. It's 10:47 on a Tuesday night. Go to sleep. Middle of the week. I got an interview coming up on Thursday. I'll talk to you guys more about it very soon. I want you to be well.